Hello everyone, this is Major Arlene reporting, and welcome back to The Sims 4. Today we are doing Steins characters. Now these are insanely difficult to do considering I don't have all the parts and pieces to them. So let me just start off with my worst one here. Okabe or Ocarine, the mad scientist himself. I have not really watched a whole lot of Steins Gate. I have gotten up to episode, I think, 16? No, 15. I'm up to episode 15, and I just had a horrible time trying to get through it because of what had happened in episodes 12, 13, and 14. 13 especially. Just because of... I don't want to spoil anything for y'all, and please don't spoil anything for me, because I'm just kind of like... I haven't finished watching the first season. Like I said, I'm only at episode 15. I just started watching it again. I had started it, then I realized I needed to finish D. Gray Man, and I had tried to get through D. Gray Man and D. Gray Man. The problem is with D. Gray Man is that the first season has a good amount of momentum. Then the second season, it just ends up slowing to a crawl, and I might have missed something. But the problem is for me is because I switched from D. Gray Man Season 1 to Hallow back to Season 2. And what happens when you do that, when you skip ahead to a place further in the future in the timeline, it ends up taking out all the tension of the characters you know who are going to live. If they're in battles, it takes out all the tension, and like they're not going to die. There's going to be some kind of bullshit that's going to keep them alive. So what's the point? And the problem is with D. Gray Man is that it took too long to get through fights. I mean, things ended up dragging out for an absurd length of time. I mean, Steins Gate's a little bit guilty of doing this with episode 13, but it's more to establish what kind of relationship Okabe or Ocarine has to Mayuri, who you'll meet later. The whole thing is a little strange, and I'm still not very sure how to take everything that is happening in the series so far. So, and there's also Steins Gate 0. I keep seeing gifs of that. So, there's a lot of things that I have to like concentrate on as far as that goes. I'm also trying to catch up with the manga. I finally caught up with Tokyo Ghoul RE like 2 days ago. I'm trying to catch up with Attack on Titan. There's like a lot of things I want to do, but I've been so busy working and doing other things that I've not had time to devote to doing all that stuff, and I kind of wanted to finish everything else I was doing first before starting on another series. So that long-winded introduction goes into this. This very horrible looking Ocarine. I don't even have a lab coat for him because what has to happen in The Sims 4 is that you have to unlock, I think, a certain level in the scientist's career. And I could go put him in a house and then make him as a scientist and cheat promote him so that way he has a lab coat. But frankly, I'm just kind of like, screw it. If I do anything, I rarely do anything extra with these characters unless I plan on doing like some sort of alternate timeline scenario or something like that, which of course would be fitting for this considering there's a zillion alternate timelines in Steins Gate. So, sorry. I am still very much getting over this stupid sinus infection. There is a little bit of drainage that will just not go away. So anyway, that's probably TMI, but anywho, him as a character is interesting because at first he's kind of like this sort of like jackass sort of scientist who's like all hyped up over himself and thinks he's kind of like better than and smarter than everybody else until he meets some other people along the way and he realizes what he's gotten himself into. He's already obsessed with time travel, which kind of leads him to do things that probably were not best for him or for anybody else for that matter. So, anywho, that's him. I don't have any other outfits for them right now, so, and I've also had to improvise quite a bit. Here is Kirisu. She is, Makise Kirisu. I can't remember which way I had all these. Um, she's often referred to as Christina in the lab. Let me fix that. Yeah, she is usually wearing a jacket and she has a red tie, not a black one, but I don't have the necessary stuff. She's interesting as a character. And kind of her backstory, I feel like was poorly written because it's kind of like her dad was a scientist. Her dad's a scientist and she's a scientist too. Both physicians and or physicists rather. Sorry, and so they're both very smart. And what ends up happening is it ends up becoming a competition between them. And basically, your father, she starts knocking down her dad's theories, and basically, your dad ends up hating her, which is a dumb thing to hate your daughter over. I mean, I understand, when science and research becomes your life's work, it's important to know that your theories are right, but it's also important to remember that not everything that you do is going to be right. And sometimes it's better to get a fresh perspective, and I kind of feel for her in a way, but at the same time, for what it's worth, it's a poorly written backstory for a character that's important to the story, because she figures out a lot of different things and figures out kind of how to get Ocarine out of this time loop of things happening, because he keeps time leaping to prevent something from happening. You'll figure out what that something is, and anyway, Daru, I have absolutely no love for this character other than the fact that he can hack and help them. I feel like he kind of ends up fucking them over, though, in a way. Daru's kind of, like, perverted in a little bit of a sense. He's like your typical hacker, geek, fuckboy sort of dude. He doesn't make a ton of appearances. I mean, he's kind of important to the story, but I feel like he could have been done without. The one thing I had to say about Steins Gate that I really love is the fact that there's a very strong female cast. So. Oh, goodness, Mayuri. Where do I start with her? My pretty little Mayuri. Bad things happen to Mayuri. Very bad things happen to Mayuri. I'm just going to warn you right now. Try not to get too attached to this character. Or do. Not up to me to decide who you get attached to. This is not anywhere close to what she's actually dressed like. She looks like she's dressed a lot older than she really is in the anime. But that was the closest thing I had to her outfit, and I don't have her hat. Mayuri's kind of like, in a way, sort of reminds me of myself, because she kind of grew up in a broken home, and Ocarine kind of takes her in. She calls herself his hostage, but I don't think it's really that sort of it's not that relationship at all. It's kind of off-putting when you hear it, but their relationship is something that's not really well understood. I mean, it's understood in a way that they obviously care a ton about each other, and Ocarine especially cares so deeply for Mayuri. I mean, he literally goes to travel back in time again and again to go and try and save her from what happens to her. But it just doesn't happen, and so I'm very curious to see how they resolve the issue, or if they resolve the issue at all. From what it's looking like at this point, it doesn't look like she's going to be saved, so just be warned, this character will break your heart into a zillion pieces. Yeah, I kind of cried a little bit last night watching Steins Gate. Alrighty. Amane Suzuha, or Suzu. This is not, like, super duper representative of what she looks like, but it was the closest I could get, again. She's kind of this very athletic computer geek sort of person, and she kind of just pops in randomly, but she becomes important, very important to the story later, because she explains a lot of stuff. She's very smart. It's kind of off-putting because she comes in at such a really odd time in the story to be really important. So, anyway, yeah, other than that, there's not a ton you know about her. I mean, she's just like, again, just, I mean, she's a very interesting character, but she's not really I'm trying to wrap my head around what happened with her in the last episode. Yeah. I'm just gonna say this right now, she's not where you think she's from. So, anyway. The last one I did was, Kiryu Moeka. And I have a lot of strong feelings about this character. You can probably tell by the, aspiration on her that something happens with her that is very shocking. Or maybe not, I don't know. She's kind of an odd person, and it's kind of very off-putting as to how things happen with her. But basically, she's a very calculated sort of person and very private. She won't directly talk to you; she'll talk through text messages, which I find very interesting, or emails, or what they call D-mails. I'm trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened so far in the series, but anyway, what happens with her is very interesting, but also it will probably piss you off to no end, because it should have seemed very obvious to me in the beginning that something was not quite right with her. But it didn't really occur to me until episode 12 that, oh yeah, this character is horrible. Horrible person. The worst kind of person, really. So, you'll find out why she is the worst kind of person ever. But, yeah, I'm just gonna, probably what I'll do is I'll save these characters and throw them all in an apartment and see how it goes. Cause, yeah, I mean, they all work in this lab, and, I mean, the cool thing about it is that, I mean, Steins Gate kind of, I mean, it's not super duper imaginative as far as, like, the whole time travel thing. It's sort of become a trope nowadays. But I like the way that it's presented, and I like the concepts that they present behind it. And I don't know what kind of science it's based off of. Probably not any kind of real science, but it all starts with a microwave, and then you will understand why that microwave becomes so weird and important and all this. And anyway, it's a very good series so far. I'm very excited to see what happens. So don't spoil anything for me. I've probably spoiled some things for y'all, but I take it if you're watching this, probably you've already seen the series or read the manga or visual novel or whatever the thing is that they have this in book form. So, anywho, I'll see you guys next time. Until then, this is Major Arlene. Over and out.